Hi guys, and welcome to our latest episode of Quarantine Cuisine, renamed since the last one. Has a bit more of a ring to it. Today we'll be making focaccia, which is a very basic bread to make, easy to make at home, and possibly my all-time favourite bread. So, for this recipe, you will need 250 ml of lukewarm water, not too hot and not too cold. If it's too hot, it may kill off your yeast. Temperatures above 40 degrees will definitely kill it. So lukewarm is good, but too cold and you'll be waiting a long time for your dough to rise. We'll be using 3 tablespoons of fresh yeast. So my recipe will call for 1 tablespoon of dried yeast, but seeing as I have fresh yeast, it does make a better quality of bread generally. So 3 times the amount of fresh yeast to dried yeast. We'll be using ground up sea salt flakes, 1 teaspoon of, and 250 grams of strong white bread flour. Oh, not to forget the olive oil, which really does bring it all together. Right, so now into our mixing bowl, we're going to chuck all the flour, and we're going to chuck all our salt, being very careful to pop it in one side so that when we add our yeast in, we can add it the other side. Because if our salt and our fresh yeast, or any yeast for that matter, comes into contact, it will definitely kill the yeast, and we don't want that. Right, now we have all of our dry ingredients in the mixing bowl ready to go. As you can see, we have a dough hook attachment on our mixer. You can do this by hand, but it is a mess. So if you don't have to do it by hand, I would highly advise you use a mixer like so. Right, so to start off with, we're going to turn the mixer on to a lower speed and we're going to add our liquid really slowly. The basic rule of thumb is if you're adding liquid to your mix as it's mixing, if you want to add your liquid slowly, have it on a slower setting. If you want to add your liquid quickly, have it on a faster setting. Now once all your liquid is in, turn it up. So I've just added a little more flour because it was looking still a bit too wet for my liking. So I stopped the machine, added the flour, and then turned it back on to a low setting so the flour didn't explode out of the bowl all over the kitchen and me. So now that's all mixed in, we're going to turn our mixer back onto a low-ish setting, low to medium setting, and we're going to add our olive oil. We're going to turn it up to incorporate the oil. As you can see, it's a very wet dough, hence why it's not ideal to do it by hand. And we're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl just to make sure we've got everything incorporated in there. Don't want any loose floury bits or yeasty bits wedged at the bottom that haven't been caught into the mix. There, I think we're pretty good. If you oil up your implements as well, the utensils you're going to be using in your mixing, that will prevent you from losing lots of dough. So we're going to cling film this up and leave it to rest for a good hour or so. I'm going to turn my tumble dryer on momentarily and then go out for my government mandated exercise for the day while this rises. See you in a bit. Right, so you guys are probably wondering, why does a tumble dryer have anything to do with anything, especially making bread? Well, my kitchen is super cold, gets so cold, and the tumble dryer is ideally situated in the kitchen, so I switched it on to amp in some warmer air to get the dough rising. As you can see, it has probably tripled in size actually, so that's going to be ready to go on for its second proof. Right, so now we're going to knock our dough back and we're going to pour it out for the second proof. And you want a baking tray lined with greaseproof, ready on hand. You can oil that if you want. I'm not going to because the dough is quite oily, but I will drizzle some over the top. And you want to oil your hands before you start messing around with this dough, just to stop it from clinging to your hands and losing all that good focaccia. So knock it back. You can see it's reduced in size. Ooh. You're going to pour it into your baking tray, nicely lined. Ooh, get it all out. Spread it over nicely. And now I'm going to put a range of toppings on mine. You can mix things through, like whatever you fancy. I'm going to top mine with olives, sun-dried tomatoes, and fresh sea salt. Now we're having this one with baked camemberts for dinner, so it's going to be quite a focal point to the meal, hence why there's so many olives and things. These are big and chunky. I like them big and chunky, but you can chop them up nice and small if you're that way inclined. It really is up to you. And some sea salt. You can pop herbs and spices, any manner of stuff. One of my favourites is chorizo and paprika. But yeah, there you go. Now you leave that for 20 minutes or thereabouts until it's started rising again, and then you'll cook it. Right, so our focaccia is going to go in the oven now at about 200 degrees for 25 minutes, but like most recipes, you want to check before the 25-minute mark. You know, different ovens do different things. Mine is a terrible oven, so I'll be checking mine incessantly to ensure it hasn't burnt itself. And there we have it, one fancy looking focaccia. Let's plate up and see what the results are. So, what do you think?
Delicious.